Lower Decks Season 4 Finale, Episode 10. The best finale to the best season yet? Hey, it is Dr. Trek, Larry Nemecek, coming at you here from the heart of Trekland. Just letting the dust settle a bit on all the recent Trek headlines and episodes. So instead of a quick take or a fast take, you get a second opinion from Dr. Trek. Hey, look, I have been writing, editing, interviewing, witnessing, hosting, archiving, dot connecting, and yes, fanning Star Trek through a lot of years. And I just want to say, whoa, yes, Season 4 finale, old friends, new planets. What? Why did that have to be hidden? It tells you nothing about the episode. It's the most generic Star Trek title ever, but it's okay. It's all out there and we know what's going on. And oh my God, what a finale. We got a full-born finale. We got a teaser, we got flashbacks, and we even got a previously on Star Trek Lower Decks, which I think is a first for the series. I was checking some. And if I'm not mistaken, I think that's Jerry O'Connell doing the narration. Little Majel homage going on there. Now, with a season finale, you can't help but get the look-back feels, right, over the past season. Plus, you want to work in as many of your characters as you can. And we get all of that. Plus, we get this great grabber of an opening flashback, which, you know, it builds on Mariner's revelations about Sito and her connection to Nick Locarno and the Nova Squadron. And, of course, it opens up this wonderful First Duty reunion with, hey, Will Wheaton playing Wesley Crusher, right? It's his first time in any animation to do that, amazingly. And also, how awesome is this? Shannon Phil back as Sito, to have her back once more. And it kind of humanizes everything that Mariner said last week. We were told, now we see it. So the big picture, well, overall, it was big action, big callbacks, big feels, big heroes, big lines, and big music. So, kudos to this finale writer, Mae Darman. Now, this is her first Lower Decks credit, but she's no stranger to Star Trek here. She was Alex Kurtzman's assistant, then she's climbing the ladder. She was Mike McMahon's assistant for a couple of years over on Solar Opposites, his other show, and here on Lower Decks through 2022. She's got this credit, and I'm going to bet with the lag time between shows and dropping them premiere that she's well on her way, because this was an excellent first outing in Star Trek. On the directing side, we're back again. Bob Suarez. Now, he's a veteran. He's one of these that worked in the art department, came up as storyboard artist, which is the way things work in animation. He was with season 1 and 2. Well, he came from Solar Opposites 2, as well as Big Mouth. He's had 8 now on Star Trek on Lower Decks. He had 3 episodes apiece. The first 2 seasons was out last season, and then he was back this year, and his first 2 credits of the year, well, Something Borrowed, Something Green, which we'll talk about in a minute, and a few badgies more. So that's a track record. Okay, big things, little things. Whoa, there is so much to pack in here. I'm going to hit the big things and a couple of little things here. But look, yes, that whole flashback scene. And yes, it was great to have Will and Shannon and, of course, Robbie back as Nick Locarno. But, oh my God, did you see Boothby kneeling at one of his trees? Oh my God. I'm sorry. Okay. And of the foursome who were talking most of the scene, did you realize that the 4th person in the group in the beginning was Joshua Albert? He's the cadet that was killed in their stunt and initiated the whole hearing, the whole investigation. We saw his dad, played by Ed Lauder, a grieving Ed Lauder, but we never saw him. We didn't even see Joshua Albert as like a headshot, right, in a bio file. And that is why it is so amazing to give him life, to give him voice here. I mean, that really got to me once I realized what was going on. I mean, it's as cool as meeting Pike's yeoman and even seeing the faces of the other 2 that were killed on Rigel 7 all these years later on Strange New Worlds. Plus, in Joshua Albert's case, it was just so poignant hearing him be concerned about this being done safely, because he is the one that they lose. Now, a couple of things. The first time I saw this, I was really disappointed because I was really curious to see what class rank Mariner was. I was wanting to look at everybody's pips and just check, and I didn't see any. I was watching my little compressed screener. I was so disappointed. Why, in detail-rich lower decks, did they not have their class pips? And of course, at the academy, you start off with 1 pip for a freshman or 4th class, 2 is a sophomore, 3 for a senior or a cadet first class has got 4, right? Well, thank you for dropping the episode. I could finally see that they were more gray than silver, but they're there. Gray on red, hard to see. But what you get is that, yeah, Mariner is a sophomore. She's a 2nd year. So when Cito is talking to her and compares herself to a first-year cadet, Mariner's actually already a sophomore. Now, by the normal human norms of aging and education, projecting us in the future that Star Trek has always used for Starfleet Academy cadets, we assume that you become a freshman at age 18, etc. So if Mariner is, well, if she's a sophomore, she's 19. This is 13 years ago. And yes, that's 2368, the year of the episode First Duty, Star Trek Next Generation, Season 5. Okay, everything is perfectly in sync here. Normal present day lower decks is 2381. That means 13. Okay, that means, bam, if Mariner is 19 here, then she's 32, which finally gives us a canon age for Mariner. So yes, she can have captain friends now. People she went the academy with who are young captains, like Armina. And then, now, last week, you heard me ranting, right, about Jean Hajar, wondering if she's going to be part of this. She was actually the 4th member, the 4th surviving member, and she was at the hearing. I was wondering out loud if she would be involved in Nick Locarno's, well, plot, much less being involved in any flashback. And I was so disappointed at first to see the 4 of them there, right, before Mariner comes running up and go, well, too bad. Why do they not have Jean in this? Is she just the forgotten, silent, unmentionable one? And then, swear to God, 2 viewings later, when I wasn't staring at Boothby down there by the tree, watch the master shot. Watch the group come walking in that long shot. There's a 5th person. There is a young female cadet who is walking with them, then at one point pulls up, tells them bye, waves off, and then runs back the other direction before you get the master shot of the group. That's Jean! Now, it's sad that we didn't get her into the group and give her some lines. And yes, get Walker Brandt in with some lines. But you know what? If it's a budget thing or a time or whatever, I really am, in the end, glad to have Joshua Albert given a life, given a voice. I just think that's so awesome. And of course, if I say this now, if you have not yet seen First Duty, go back and watch it now. It will bring so much more to this episode, this whole Locarno arc. And then again, calling back to some of the key episodes where we got into more planetary cultures, we're still doing it. So yes, more Orions. Barter by combat? I mean, come on. Another look at the roots here. And this emerging theme, at least I'm taking it this way, of Orions is kind of a cross between Klingons and Ferengi. Combative profiteers. I mean, that's really interesting. And finally, in all the history of Star Trek, besides just being green and occasionally on the nefarious side of things, it actually feels like it's giving the Orions a spine. We're certainly getting into more of their culture here, thanks to the Devon Attendee family. I mean, what a thought that after all these years, even on Disco and Strange New Worlds, that it's going to be Lower Decks that develops the Orions the most. Now, when they beam down with the party, I'm looking at Miglimo going, what is Miglimo doing here? And it is funny. Did you notice when they're all lined up, he's eating? Who would have thought he would be the perfect one to be the battle foil as things went that way? Fluff, you're down. I mean, aside for being an honorable mention for this week's favorite line, it's also a good reminder to go, hey, Mike, some of us would like to know the name of Miglimo's species. And hey, I looked for him, but I'm reminded here, De'Erica's husband, you know, that she was married to when we last were on Orion, he was never named in that episode. He was never named in Something Borrowed, Something Green. And not only is he not mentioned yet, he was nowhere to be seen in that throne room. Just saying, just saying. And it, though, fits perfectly well with what we know of the emerging Orion culture now. Oh, and Ferengis, don't forget Ferengis. More Ferengis. In fact, more Ferengis rules of acquisition. Let's see, Rule 91, your boss is only worth what he pays you. Oh, and 289, shoot first, count profits later. Well, that's a little on the arrogant Ferengi side. Look, it's 289. In the DS9 years, the rules only went to 285. So we've had almost a decade, 4 new rules, at least since then. And we've gotten 4 altogether from lower decks. It is so great to have a series set in this time period. And yes, she's also dealing with the Romulans. The Romulans are still out there lurking and still have that ego big enough to be their downfall. Especially when the downfaller is apparently Beckett Mariner. Oh, more big things, little things? How about dangerous and unpredictable space debris? Can I acronymize that? Can I just call that DAWSed? Because I'm telling you, if we ever get Star Trek The Experience back, I want one of the space shuttle rides to be dangerous and unpredictable space debris. I think it'd be exciting. It sure was in this one. Nyx Trinar, great name, by the way. Trinar Shield. Did you see the graphic? It fits around the entire multi-planet system. That's bigger than a Dyson sphere. Punching through that could be Act 2 of a Star Trek The Experience adventure shuttle ride. All right, did you notice the name of the ship that Mariner basically hijacked to get away? The USS Pissarro. Now, here's a story that was named for Fabio Pissarro, who for 20 years is basically a longtime digital artist who turned to the Star Trek world, was converting ships, up-resing ships. He worked with Eagle Moss with the ship's collection, Star Trek Online. He started with prints for magazines. And yes, he worked with the Lower Decks crew. In fact, they named a ship for him. He passed away about a year ago of cancer. The family was looking for ways to honor him. Now, if you're eagle-eyed, this was, did you catch it? This was a Steamrunner class ship, one of the ones invented for First Contact, designed there. There was also USS Pissarro, retconned, as Dave Blass was wont to do, for all those seen but unnamed ships on Picard Season 3. One of those got retconned as the USS Pissarro, also to honor Fabio. Now, if you're worried about overlapping canon, don't be. Obviously, this ship was lost, right? This Steamrunner class. So you're good. That Gagarin class that is retcon name for him is 20 years later. So it's all good. It's all good. Canon is always coolest when it needs no smoothing. Oh, and the biggest little of them all, did you see when Locarno was broadcasting his appeal to the downtrodden crews of the galaxy? Did you see Rogue Architect and one-time Beckett bestie Petra Aberdeen in there with her crew? Okay, favorite line. Okay, I gotta fudge this one. For one, they put a paywall on a bomb? Look, the whole idea of a Ferengi version of a Genesis mini device, it's hysterical, okay? Now, back in Parth Ferengi, when we first saw this, it wasn't clear to me that it was a Ferengi bomb. So I'm glad the point was saved for here. But seriously, I literally LOL'd the loudest that I have in 2 or 3 years. Wow, I've never actually seen anyone use a Captain Jot. And okay, look, just FYI, the Cerritos Captain Jot was seen way back in First Contact. Yeah, the finale of season 2. It was seen, but it wasn't used. So Boimler, even for his personal point of view, can still be accurate, okay? Oh, and double FYI, just in case you're scanning the Cerritos model in whatever form and you don't see a Captain Jot under the traditional bottom of the dome on the underside of the hull saucer, back in that same season 2 finale, we saw that the Captain Jot was stowed in an interior kind of mini hangar bay. So there. Now, we still don't know the formal name of Freeman Jot. And you know what? By custom, it's not painted on the outside of the ship's hull. But hey, Nice rack focus on that entrance, Captain Jot. But I do have some questions, starting with, who are they? Oh, and by the way, Temerians have their own Tau guy, too. Oh, and is that a white-haired gray Cation or a white-haired gray Kzinti? Now, on our cast of characters roll call, yes, we got some Miglamo. We got little Barnes. We got a Temerian line for Tayshawn. And we got Livik twaining with Rutherford. And while we're in that holodeck, look, the little boy and his Nellie Bly mom, they were regular Hollow Twain characters that we saw the first time. By the way, is the Mark Twain Steamboat going to be just this season's, I don't know, Fairhaven or Sandrines? Seen one season and then never again? Or will we see it again? Stay tuned. And yes, a glimpse of Goodgie. Hey, we've even got the Merps all merping together. And wow, Billups doesn't get a lot, but he goes all garbage scow Scotty on us in 1 minute there. Not a measly support ship. Good boy, Billups. I mean, what got him all wound up this time? He's just sentimental at the finale time. Meanwhile, on the big scope of things, we've got Admiral Vassy back, going all wimpy, bureaucratic Starfleet again. I mean, we've gone from Badmirals to Dadmirals to Whimperals. Also, almost looking at you, Admiral April. And Captain Freeman, look at you with the ingenuity. I mean, sometimes a dead destroyer Hulk is all you have. But sometimes a dead destroyer Hulk is all you need. First, she's defying Starfleet orders in the best Kirk tradition. And then, well, eat your heart out, Picard, opening diplomatic relations, in a way, with the Orions. Hey, it's on her record. And Bradward Boimler, how far you have come since pointing at the view screen and screaming, "It's the Titan!" That said, your Boimler scream tonight's was the most heroic ever. We salute you, sir. I see why Commander Ransom is starting to take notice. Some real big chair drama going on there, bucko. Good job. And the rest of our heroes, Tendi, this plot wouldn't have worked, this rescue wouldn't have happened without Tendi's role to play and actually going back and dealing with the sister that she saved. And yes, Rutherford is engineering up a storm, but my memory of Rutherford here is always going to be that look when they're reunited and he's the one that hangs back, blowing. It's no big deal to him that Tendi's leaving, but it is. And you can tell it in his face when he drops behind everybody else. And if we have been building to anything this season, was that a hug or was that a clinch when Tenderford had to say goodbye when Tendi beamed away for her sacrifice? And maybe one of the biggest miracles of the year has been how T'Lyn has assimilated, pardon the expression, into this crew, into the cast, into the format. And there was a moment there in the beginning when they're all on a group hug, right? Momentarily, I wondered if she would join in. I mean, it would have been bigger than Picard joining the poker game. But she didn't. That's my girl. I mean, all this to say, she's still being defiant to her Captain Sokol. And I don't know, is it done? Has it been postponed to next year? But one thing's for sure, she may be a 10D2 in a blue top, but she's no Devana carbon copy. She makes her own way, and we love it. And the way this season has gone, with the reveals of the last couple episodes, we've got to say, Nick Locarno. Wow, what a genius move, Mike and company, for using that as the big bad. I mean, it's obvious to see, psychologists will love this, the counselor. Locarno is stuck. Locarno is stuck right where his life blew up 13 years ago. I mean, Nova 1 is his ship, the Nova Fleet. He's got the Colvard Starburst for his logo now. It's really sad. Okay, I got to ask, did anybody else do what I did? As Nick's fate wound down when Mariner beamed out, rear back and realize he's going to get Genesis. But I got to say, Remember those early middle episodes when it felt like Mariner was laying low while it was a T'Lyn or a Rutherford or a Tendi or a Tutherford episode? Yeah, we finally get this payoff. It's been her season in a lot of ways, right? So let's just do the math here. So she got the Cedo news we know now when she was a senior. She took this body blow as a senior and she graduated and she joined the service. So I'm wondering, when did the self-sabotage, when did that as a grieving defense mechanism, when did that kick in? Did she start right away on her path to all those promotions and demotions, or did it take time to develop? Because what's awesome about the flashback is before all of that we now know, Mariner was out tendying Tendi. She was the biggest geek squeal of all. She loves exohistory, which actually is a plot point from before. It's so awesome to see the real Beckett Mariner, the one that Carol and Alonzo raised. That's the kid they sent off to Starfleet Academy. That's the original idealist. And okay, she's had a major breakthrough here. She keeps having little ones along the way. But what does that do for the series? I'm having a hard time imagining where we go with a healthy Beckett Mariner again. And I know things can't be that smooth rolling, but it was so cool to see her in that flashback. And what's more, it was great to see this summation of the Starfleet officer she's always been capable of being at the age of 32, where she has friends who are also captains. She did not shoot first and ask questions later. She could have. She made it a point to contact everyone and use her cultural understanding. She knows Ferengis, thanks to her friend Grimp. She dealt with the Klingon last episode. She's dealing with Orion. We didn't see it, but I'm sure she went down the line with everybody. She's dealing, and even stupid lurking Romulans. I mean, I just wonder where she's going to go next year. I mean, will success spoil Beckett Mariner? Stay tuned. So yes, so ends this season, right? Not just the great mystery ship arc, but also the year of the promotions. Wasn't it cool, though, with the senior staff off, bashing through the shield, to see no one but lower deckers on the bridge of the Cerritos? I mean, how far they've come. But it almost feels like it wouldn't be a big Lower Deck show. It wouldn't be a Lower Deck season finale without yet another Wrath of Khan homage. I mean, first, we have blind starship battles, right? Traversing the murky depths. We have big Horner-esque music cues. We have staticky view screens. And most of all, we even get Genesis detonation concussion rings. It was amazing. Now, because you expect it of any great Lower Decks episode, much less a finale. You can't have a good show without a heapin' helpin', a thick steaming layer of meta. As in, he looks just like Tom Paris. Nah, I don't see it. Their faces are literally the same. I tell you, Rutherford is the most underrated of the group. And Mike McMahon keeps infusing Lower Deck as great therapy for longtime fan debates. But you know what, in the end, is this episode the end of this arc like a good old Star Trek parable for our times? I mean, in the end, Mariner tells Nick, don't let your anger define your life, which of course was good advice to her in her own right. I mean, look at Mariner's final appeal to Locarno. She says, an earnest system, even with its flaws, is far better to some ego-driven revenge tour, right? And using allies that drop off as soon as they wise up that they've been duped and lied to. I mean, that's not so perfect. I mean, when you look at it in that kind of a meta level, Lower Decks, it's still episodic, and each episode has its own tone and theme, right? And the mystery arc is a running arc, but it's a disarmingly not simple show. And I think there's really some good subtext, good old traditional Star Trek subtext going on here when you get to what is the tragedy of Nick Locarno. I really think it speaks to our times. In fact, this finale and this kind of view from the hill here makes me think that Lower Decks, yes, not just about the serial running line, right? They're doing that, but they've cracked the code about how to do the big bad. Now, it started off being rogue Packlids, then it was rogue Patlets working with rogue Klingons, then we had a Badmiral, and now Nick Locarno is doing his con vengeance thing, but it's internal. It's an internal threat with external players. So in the end, we wind up with, well, it's a great way to mix in a lot of Trek alien adversaries and friends and gray areas, or should we say green areas. It's a lot like DS9 that way, if you think about it. In fact, we've got not a classic cliffhanger, but more of a DS9 one, right? We have a meta moment there. The Lower Decks chant was premature. All is not well. We don't know the one thing hanging over. Things seem to be resolved, but we've got the one thing hanging over. Tendi, her future's in doubt. She seems resolute. She walks into her future. We don't know what it's going to be, but what are we left with? We're left with closing credits over a retreating warp star field and a whole new drama theme. What's that about? Did you do this? I hung on expecting some kind of post-credits closing scene like last year. But nada. I guess we'll find out in 9 months or so. No strike delays here. Oh, and one more thing. Looking ahead, while we wait for Tendi's fate, whatever happened to Rutherford's mysterious cryo-eye programmers? While we're at it, are we ever going to get down to Cetacean Ops? See Kimmelou and Matt again? Okay. This is as good as any to sign off on this second opinion. But what do you think? What did you think about the episode? Or what did you think about what I thought? Hey, leave a comment below, would you please? And while you're at it, like and subscribe, ring the bell, do all the things. Yeah, boost the signal. I'd appreciate it. And I dare you to subscribe for some sanity in your Star Trek. In fact, if you crave more Dr. Trek and our Trekland point of view, check out everything. All our live experiences, our live streams, our podcasts, like the Trek Files, like Cadet Alice and Dr. Trek. Watch Prodigy, like Trekland Tuesdays Live, like, well, Trekland Treks, our live location tours around LA, and of course, Portal 47, your backstage pass to more in-depth Trek, every month. It's all there at LarryNemecek.com. Check it out, would you? Till next time, Trek well, everybody.